It's your boy Zoe Phillips. Thanks for tuning in to Zone Coverage Podcast, home of the HBCU Sports Authority, the oracle on all things HBCU. I'm gonna tell you like this. If I tell you a mosquito can pull a wagon, don't ask me no questions. You better look his ass up. From that north. It's your boy Zoe Phillips. How about that, man? You guys hear me now? But start over again, man. Look, thanks for tuning in to Zone Coverage with your boy Zoe Phillips, man. We got a great show for you guys today. You still can't hear? All right, and Joe said you can hear, man. All right. No sound? Y'all can't hear? All right, so we're good to go. All right, sorry about that, man. Thing was muted for some odd reason. All right, like I stated, man, got a good show for you guys today, man. Look, as it's March Madness, man. It's prelude to March Madness to the NCAA tournament. As you guys know, it's tournament season. We got the SWAC tournament actually starting today. Got some upsets happening today. Got a game being played right now as we speak. MEAC tournament kicked off tomorrow. And we got a lot going on with regards to that. Got some football news for you guys, and go ahead and get started today. We'll get into all the conference winnings within the tournament. Some things went as planned. I just want to pull up the actual current game for you guys right now. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, just went final. FAMU just beat Prairie View 75-66. That's the last game on to evening in the first round. So again, today the last game of the evening in the SWAC tournament was FAMU upending Prairie View 75-66. And I'm gonna bring up the bracket in a moment for you guys. We can actually look over it and look while we're gonna get started. Look, any of you guys in the chat, man, pull up who you expect to win the men and SWAC women's tournament. Also, pull up in the chat who you all expect to win, who you think or who you pick to win the MEAC men's and women's tournament. Go ahead and put that in the chat, man, because I'm going to pull up the bracket. We can kind of break some things down in a second and kind of go over a few things. But, man, look, we're going to go ahead and get started, man. On to the next one. Hold on one second here. All right, there we go. And look, we're going to go ahead and get this show started, man. I know you guys heard the unfortunate news. Sky and I and Perry, we actually dived into a great topic about talking about it yesterday. But again, man, it's just it's a huge thing in the HBCU landscape right now, man. Everybody around the country is actually talking about this and mourning this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't even do it this evening. So, want to definitely send a rest in peace to Caleb Wilson and his family. Sending condolences out to his family, friends, loved ones, Southern University, man. Everybody in SWAC. Man, look, all this kind of stuff hits different once you become a parent, and also if this was a close loved one, and just want to kind of reiterate something too on last night when we actually spoke and got into this. Man, look, in no shape, form, or fashion are we, saying, demonizing Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, right? We're just stating, basically ask the question, should the fraternity as a whole, um, you know, be responsible and held liable for this? And we stated yes, but we're not saying just because we feel that they should be held liable. Are we saying should the fraternity be shut down or be, have aspersion cast against them or anything like that, man? Listen, there are plenty of good Omegas doing good work, and anytime you have a group, any type of group setting, you'll have bad apples and good apples. It kind of just goes with it, and so we're not definitely wanting to throw Omega Psi Phi out with the bathwater, right? That's not what we're doing at all. But there needs to be some accountability, and people need to be held responsible, and the group as a whole needs to be held responsible for this. So definitely want to send again to condolences out to Southern. Caleb Wilson's family, friends, and loved ones, and also loss on both ends as well. And won't get too far in it. I did want to bring this up because we talked about it. So did get some more intel. There were actually there was one arrest for Caleb McCray, who was the guy that was labeled out to actually cause the blows to actually cause the death of Caleb Wilson. But there were two other arrests today. Well, one last night and one today. So a total of three arrests right now with Isaiah Smith, you see on the screen, Caleb McCray, as well as Kyle Thurman. And I'm reading an excerpt here from WAFB News down in Baton Rouge showed that arrest warrants were released by Baton Rouge Police Tuesday for three suspects tied to the hazing death of Caleb Wilson. Revealed it was only Caleb McCray who punched Caleb Wilson. McCray is facing the most serious of the charges, felony hazing and manslaughter, which could carry 40 years in prison if convicted. McCray turned himself in this previous Thursday night, and the camera crew was there as he walked out of jail. Warrants revealed that all three suspects, Caleb McCray, Kyle Thurman, and Isaiah Smith, all punched the pledges. And it was noted that Thurman, who punched the first half of the group, McCray punched the second half, hitting Caleb Wilson 4 times in the chest, causing him to collapse on the floor. And the warrants did reveal that the pledges were moved to a separate room while leadership attended to Wilson. Wilson was loaded into Smith's Black Dodge Challenger, where he was dropped off at the hospital. Surveillance video and a query of the license plate revealed that the car was registered to Isaiah Smith. Smith was identified as the person who struck at least one of the pledges and held the title Dean of Pledges. A lie was initially told to investigators that Wilson collapsed in Breck Park, and Wilson was being hazed at a warehouse off Greenwell Springs Road, and their warehouse is leased by Smith's father, Todd Smith. So on Monday, which was yesterday, Thurman was picked up by U.S. Marshals in Port Allen after he failed to turn himself in over the weekend. Thurman was transported to East Baton Rouge Parish Jail Tuesday morning from West Baton Rouge, and the let's say a bond for them was actually set at $25,000. So just wanted to give you guys that little rundown of information in regards to that. So again, man, kudos to Caleb Wilson, and I hope justice is served for him and his family, however they see fit or feel that with the type of justice that they feel that they'll get. So just wanted to bring that guy to you guys, and we can actually go ahead and get into um the sports landscape on there, right? So look, man, we're gonna get up here. Let me move this off of here, man. Look, we'll get into Eddie George next, man. Today, man, Bowling Green actually introduced Eddie George today in Bowling Green. So third HBCU coach to move up directly from the HBCU ranks to head coaching status on the FBS level. First being Willie Jeffries out of South Carolina State, who headed over to Wichita State back in the mid '80s. And then you have Coach Prime, who left Jackson State to go to Colorado, and now Eddie George leaving Tennessee State to go over to Bowling Green. Um, had some interesting takes on this. I actually got some information. Well, reading an article in the Tennessean today. That's the local Nashville paper, and Scotty and I, we actually talked last night about knowing that Tennessee State has the, financial constraints and the issues that they're dealing with at the time, I know everybody's so quick to say, oh, they should get another, celebrity coach or the pool of candidates. Like, what exactly is that going to look like for them? And, I even stated last night, like, I don't think the job is an attractive job, uh, but it had a certain esteem before all these other financial issues came into play. Because again, when we're talking about, we don't really know what's going to happen with Tennessee State from a financial standpoint, not just the athletic department, but the school as a whole. And, you know, when they actually came out today, the Tennessean, and came out with a list of possible replacements. And I got to tell you, the fact that the list that the Tennessean gave for Tennessee State is very telling. Very telling. They listed 6 names, and of the 6 names they listed, you got 4 of them that's on the current staff, literally, which is kinda crazy when you think about it because 4 of the 6 on the current staff, and I can almost assure you a good number of those guys are actually gonna go with Eddie George. I imagine they go to Eddie George to Bowling Green, you know? Of the 6 choices they got listed, man, they listed Dwayne Alexander. He's the Sewanee run game coordinator. And that's telling too how he could even be, you know, someone that they would even pinpoint, being that, Eddie George, who again came in inexperienced, but why would you want to follow a coach who was inexperienced, who won, leaving at a bad time to only go to another coach who's never been a head coach before? That's kind of a head scratcher, but nonetheless, they mentioned Joe Bowden, who's the associate head coach at Tennessee State. He's also the linebackers coach. They list Brandon Fisher. He's the defensive coordinator at Tennessee State. I can assure you Brandon Fisher is going to go with Eddie George. That's Jeff Fisher's son, by the way. He's the defensive coordinator there. I can assure you he's going to go with Eddie George. Being that Eddie George is so locked in with Jeff Fisher, as it is, I imagine the majority of the staff is going to go with them. But again, you list a defensive coordinator, you list a linebackers coach. Next up, you list you list Shannon Harris, who's the DC Defender quarterback coach. Again, no head coaching experience. Then you follow that up with Travis Partridge. He's the Tennessee State OC. So not only do you list the DC, you list the OC and the DC to follow Eddie George as head coach. And then you go with Ed Sanders, who's the Franklin Road Academy, which is a high school, associate head coach and defensive coordinator. These are the candidates that the Tennessean put out for the replacement of Eddie George at Tennessee State. And, pretty much like I said last night, that's very telling. You don't see any names like Teddy Keaton or, you know, Tony Hull, OC at Pine Bluff, or, any other coach within the SWAC and the D2, or, coordinators within the SWAC right now who are got head coaching ties. There was mention that Fred McNair put in and reached out to the university. I think for Tennessee State in the position that they're in, I think that's the best course of action for them, to be honest with you. Um, Head coach from Mississippi is right there. Uh, got great recruiting ties to Memphis from Alcorn, who was already recruiting there. Alcorn's playing there up there this fall. So I just think, considering the circumstances that they're in right now, I think that's the best course of action for them. Now again, if you got a Teddy Keaton and he wants to come up and get that job, then I think Teddy Keaton would be a damn good hire. But man, it's a good move for Eddie George. It's a horrible move for Tennessee State. At this current time, man, the recruiting season's over. All those guys that committed to sign with Tennessee State, now you're talking about, man, those guys are gonna probably end up hitting the portal after the spring. They're gonna lose a ton of players. The timing of this couldn't have been any better. I'm sorry, couldn't have been any worse for Tennessee State. Uh, Man, this is really going to set them back. So much so that I think they're going to have to move expeditiously to get a coach in. I mean, literally, probably in the next week or so. This job search would not go another 10 days, and they're going to have to make a decision because I'm telling you, as soon as spring ball is over with, if they haven't righted this ship or made some type of legway, man, it's gonna fall apart. I mean, literally, you're talking about an exodus of players. Then depending on who you actually get in there, um, to try to give any, try to give sustain whatever's going on with Eddie George's exit. Man, rebuilding the staff. Oh man, that first year is just you might as well just go ahead and chalk it up. Seriously, like this is actually the timing wise, this is actually worse than Tamika Reed leaving for Charlotte for Jackson State. And Margaret Richards came in late behind the ball and did an amazing job, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the timing of this couldn't have been even worse for Tennessee State. But Eddie George, like I said, was introduced today and stated pretty much like it was at Tennessee State. Said he had great expectation to win the MAC in his first year. Um, Looking like he's probably going to bring some of those guys that he recruited from Tennessee State over there with him. He didn't mention anything about his staff or any additions or what that's going to look like, but we'll see, man. Bowling Green really didn't had a horrible year. Nonetheless, I mean, he had to fire the coach, but that school has a winning pedigree. They've done it before. I'm familiar with Bowling Green. Watch them throughout over the years. We've had certain players that were near the area um, that we recruited beforehand. We had a player leave and go there before. And again, they've got quite a few players from the NFL that went there. Josh Cribbs is the last one that comes to mind for me. And they've had quite a few quarterbacks that went there. CJ said, does Tennessee State have the money to make a great hire? I don't think so. I don't think they have the money to make a really good hire. That's the reason why I think by hiring Fred McNair is the best route to go because, again, it may not be a sexy pick, but it speaks to stability, and he's a proven winner. And it's a different traction for him, being that you won't be playing in the SWAC and playing for the Celebration Bowl. But again, for Tennessee State, what I'm saying for them, it's a steady hand. It's a guy with a winning pedigree, knows how to run a program, and he's willing to take it. I mean, and shoot, compared to what he was making at Alcorn, Eddie George was making 400,000. Excuse me, at Tennessee State. I'm gonna tell you right now, Fred McNair take that job for 300,000, and they can reduce that cost and pay Fred McNair and see what kind of staff he can actually get in. But we'll see. One other point to note that Eddie George signed, I believe it was a 5 or 6 year deal at 600,000 per year, which is pretty low on the FBS front. Uh, but still, it's an increase in pay nonetheless with regards to what he was making at Tennessee State. So 600,000 a year per year. And just look to see what his staff is going to make, what type of increase they'll have. But he's going to have a bigger recruiting budget. And I mean, he's going to trade away games for playing in front of nobody in Hale Stadium and Nissan Stadium to, I think Bowling Green averaged about 14.5 last year in attendance and a bunch of games on Tuesdays. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll mosey on from that, man. And look, next up, man, I'm gonna get up into the SIAC, man. So look, start this off, man. I want to give kudos. Oh, excuse me. Blows up for you guys, man. All right, my bad. I will give kudos, man, to Miles College, man, winning their back-to-back SIAC championship. And like I said, we're gonna actually starting to get into more SIAC and CIAA content. But man, kudos to them, back-to-back champions, headed to the NCAA tournament, Division II tournament. So again, just give kudos to them on an amazing season. And then outside of the Miles College Lady Bears, we're gonna give kudos, excuse me, to Savannah State College, the home of the Fighting Shannon Sharps, Savannah State Tigers, and they actually came in and they represented themselves and won the SIAC in the year of 2025. Um, Next up, I'll actually move over here to the MEAC, and we got quite a bit of news to actually get into within the excuse me, into the MEAC. And I'll get into this, man. It started off, all the superlatives came out and they released their all conference team today. And we'll actually get into the bracket in just a second. So Larry Vickers won the women's coach of the year, and rightfully so. Went undefeated in conference play. Man, they've been kicking tail. He's been matching pretty much what Tamika Reed did at Jackson State. He's pretty much done it at Norfolk State over the previous 3 years. And to go unscathed, I don't care what level it is in conference play, and they have a great record even in the non-conference. So, man, kudos to them and him and his team. And again, he won the coach of the year. We'll actually just mosey on because if he won the coach of the year, they won undefeated in conference. You can pretty much surmise that voila, you got Diamond Johnson won the player of the year. Rightfully so. Excuse me. Rightfully so, put up amazing numbers for them. And again, undefeated. And I couldn't tally it up, man, but their record over the previous 3 years is dang on good. And they look to be a strong mid-major. I'm actually willing to see what type of seeding they'll get if they run through the conference tournament. And to see, I really got a feeling that they'll have the highest ranking this year of any HBCU team uh, in the NCAA tournament. I can foresee them actually getting possibly a 13 seed because their non-conference record actually speaks to it. They don't have the wins. That's one thing Tamika Reed have over them in 1 or 2 years. We went a season where we beat Arkansas, beat Texas Tech, and we beat Louisiana Tech. Excuse me. Um, so the thing is going to come down to, I'm unsure of what their RPI is, but I think they got a really good chance to get a 13 seed. They're going to make some noise in the tournament, so I'm really looking forward to watching them. So it's going to be pretty dope to see. And as you guys know, look, Norfolk State won the regular season championship. And like I said, went undefeated in conference play, and Will mosey on. And you got co-champions, which is such the MEAC thing to do. They have co-champions just about in everything, it seems like, right? But as you guys see, man, Norfolk State and South Carolina State, man, are co-champions in the regular season. So uh, couldn't really find anything to see how many times they've had co-champions in basketball within the MEAC. I was trying to put it up before we went on, but anyway, kudos to them. Norfolk State, man, pretty much kind of like Southern and Jackson State, man, getting it on both ends on both sports, and men and women winning championships. So kudos to them. And look, we actually going to get into the actual bracket. I'm gonna bring this up, man. Y'all don't mind me. The tournament is actually going to start on tomorrow, and as you guys can see, all the games will be on ESPN Plus. They'll be streamed live. Excuse me, and they actually calling it MEAC Homecoming, which is pretty interesting. And you can see in the first round, man, you got Norfolk State playing South Carolina State. You got Coppin State playing North Carolina Central. You'll have Morgan State playing, excuse me, Maryland Eastern Shore, and then you got Delaware State playing Howard. And man, look, the way this conference slate went up, the only really two teams you had it was pretty good was Norfolk State and Howard. And I really believe it's going to be a crash course for Norfolk State and Howard in the championship game because the other teams in that conference really haven't been cutting the mustard. But we'll stay tuned and get into that, man. But look, like I said, you guys in the chat, put up who you think is going to win the conference tournament for both men and women in the MEAC and men and women within the SWAC. All right, next up, we'll actually jump into the MEAC men's bracket, right? And as you guys can see, excuse me, we actually have Norfolk State, again, who's the number one seed, starting that off with Maryland Eastern Shore. You'll have Howard facing off against Morgan State. Then you got Delaware State facing off against North Carolina Central, and then you got Coppin State playing South Carolina State. Now, in this one, I can expect an upstate here or there. Yes, CJ, I was about to say Howard has a really good freshman, and I think Howard can make some noise in this tournament. I do still kind of expect Norfolk State to win it, but I think it's going to come down between those three teams. Now, Delaware State has looked promising at times, but they don't match up well with Norfolk State. But if Howard just so happens to upend Norfolk State, I think it gets really interesting. So I think it's going to run chalk. I think the top four seeds are going to make it to the next round. I do expect Howard to play Norfolk State in the second round, and South Carolina State and Delaware State to battle it out. I really, really think it's going to come down to possibly South Carolina State and Norfolk State. And being that they were co-champions, it's going to be a damn good matchup. Got Norfolk State winning it out, man, but hey, stranger things happen. One game playoff season, one big league. We'll see how it turns out, right? Look, now we're going to move on to the thing I know best. SWAC ball, man. Look, we got over in the SWAC, man, and listen. Look, man, y'all see it. I'm JSU through and through. Man, shout out TD3, Talia Dilworth. She was actually crowned yesterday. She actually won the Player of the Year and Newcomer of the Year. Had an amazing season, and man, listen, came on late to the scene. Got enrolled. I mean, like I told you guys, kind of like Eddie George at Tennessee State. Tamika Reed left after the recruiting season was over with. Literally almost by the time when school was getting ready to get let out. Margaret Richards came in with her staff, man, and shout out Daniel Price, man, DP. Man, they came and hit the ground running. They really fortified themselves and got some good pieces to do what they did, man. For them to even finish with the seating that they have, I mean, I could really make a case that she really could have won Coach of the Year. Shout out to Coach Funches, who was the first non-Jackson State coach to win it since I believe 2019. Tamika Reed and Jack State has won it every year since the regular season championship and Coach of the Year. And coincidentally, Coach Funches was the last non-Jackson State coach to win it when he won it, I believe, in 2019. Tamika Reed has won it every year since, and kudos to him. Again, came back first year with Coach Reed out the league, and Southern they proved they were the top dogs in the SWAC. They ran it from beginning to end. You know, the conference I believe was more deeper this year, was better this year on the women's side for the ladies. You know, Alabama A&M has a damn good record. You know, Texas A&M came and did their thing. Jackson State uh, really, really proved themselves to be tough. And then again, you look at as good as they played, you look at Valley. Valley didn't have a great record, but Valley had a winning record against Alcorn and Jack State in the state of Mississippi. So again, the women's side of basketball in the SWAC is actually getting better and it's growing again stronger. And so again, kudos to all those top teams. And look, you got Destiny Brown from Alcorn who won Defensive Player of the Year. You got Crystal Schultz, who won Freshman of the Year. She's nice too. And as I stated earlier, you got Coach Funches, who won Coach of the Year there with Southern, right? And so we actually move on from there, and I'll actually get to the actual first team so you guys can actually see. So again, you got Talia Dilworth, who won May first team, Alicia Wilson, Kayla Walker, Alasia Fantroy, and Destiny Brown on your SWAC first team, and then we actually pull up the second team, and you'll see we got there. You got Anaya Gordine, you got Kaya Wormsley, Cordesia Harris, Ajane Nicholson, and Shani McEvans. And I'm gonna get to some scores and everything what happened today because again, we got some action tonight. We're gonna touch on that. I wanted to actually bring up the bracket, so and we'll get into some of the games. I'm gonna make this big over me so y'all don't mind me. But again, as you can see, we saw where Valley upset Prairie View. I mean, upset FAMU. I'm sorry, in the first round, and I believe that Prairie View upended Bethune Cookman, if I remember correctly. Let me uh let me pull this up on the safe side and see. Yes, Prairie View defeated Bethune Cookman 57-52, and Valley defeated FAMU 68-65 in overtime. And so now you got game two. You got Southern facing off against Valley. Excuse me. On tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And then you'll have Prairie View facing off against Texas Southern, which is a rivalry game, which is going to be a damn good game on tomorrow. That's a good slate of games, man. You got Southern playing Valley tomorrow, Jack State and Grambling, Texas Southern and Prairie View, and then you got Alabama A&M and Alcorn. Now, if I actually went and tried to run this bracket, I got Southern and Jackson State going to the next round, but that's not a lock for Jackson State. That Grambling game is going to be very, very tough for Jackson State. Uh, Now, man, that Texas Southern and Prairie View, that's a very interesting game. I got Texas Southern winning that game, but I would not be shocked if Prairie View actually pulls that thing through. I think that Alcorn Alabama A&M game is going to be a lot quicker than people, a lot closer than what people think. I really, really do. Um, but in this first season, I just it's gonna be hard to beat Southern. Man. Alabama A&M, I think they found something. They just went down to the Bluff and beat Southern. It was a close game. It was nip and tuck. I'll say this. Um, right now, with the way Jackson State's playing, if for any reason Jackson State can get by Southern, I think Jackson State will take it. But if not, I think Southern's gonna possibly end up pulling that thing through. Um, but if I had to pick an upset in this, I got Prairie View possibly beating Texas Southern in the second round. I think that'll be the upset that I got, right? And I'll pretty much roll with that one. And that's on the women's side. And like I told you guys earlier, Michigan showed the score right here with Prairie View beat Bethune-Cookman 57-52. Look, we'll go ahead and get into the men's superlatives, right? Look, again, you got Coach Johnson at Southern. Like I stated about Norfolk State, Southern did it on both sports, man, men and women. Both instances, you got Coach of the Year in both sports. Southern doing their thing, man. Jaguars is they proved to be pretty dominant on the hardwood. You got Coach Johnson, won Coach of the Year. We'll actually get into the Player of the Year, which is not shocking, man. You got Sterling Young at FAMU, who, like I said, had a great year. Um, I'm gonna get into something in just a second, though. They really kind of, it's a head scratcher to me, but I'm glad the SWAC did it. Right? I'm gonna get into that. We get into the defensive player of the year. You know what I'm saying? You got none of it over here at Southern, won defensive player of the year, and then we'll actually get into newcomer of the year, which is Matthews from FAMU, and that leaves the oh, forgive me, I'm tripping. And then that's going to leave the freshman of the year, which is Dorian McMillan at Jackson State, who really, really proved to be the best freshman in the conference. Started the year, starting and now toward the end of the year became the sixth man. Put up some solid numbers, man. All state player. But really looking forward to see what Jackson State's going to be like. Next year with the recruiting class they got in, with one of the top players in the country coming in, Michael Williams, Mo Williams' son. But I wanted to get into this, bringing up the first team because I want to highlight something, and that is the Swag Men's first team, which I think they got it. I think they got it right. I can't really argue any point on it. I really, really can't, and that's rare for me to say when it comes to the Swag, but I can't argue with it, right? You got Trey Thomas, Sterling Young, you got Amar Knox, Michael Jacobs, and Tadaj Pitway, you know what I'm saying, rounding out the first team. And I really can't argue it, right? But now this is when it gets interesting, right? We can get into the second team, right? And again, I can't knock it, right? You got TJ Madlock, Coach Madlock's son from Alabama State. You got Daniel Ruzon. You got Kavion McClain, AC Bryant, and Shannon Grant. Um, and I can't really argue that either, right? But man, I gotta say this. Deshaun Ruffin don't make all swag. And then I gotta question Mansell, but I can see the argument, on why Mansell's being left out when you look at who was actually put on. But man, Deshaun Ruffin now not making a team. Man, I like it. I like it. I like it. Cause I think you're gonna get a real charged up Deshaun Ruffin in the SWAC tournament. Outside of the kid at Pine Bluff, who can actually get some buckets for you. Deshaun Ruffin got the light and the temperament to just go crazy in the tournament. Um, Everybody in the conference know about him. All the coaches do too, because trust me, they press him full court. They try to double him. He is good. He's as advertised. I think he needed this. I think he needed to be snubbed for something. And I can assure you, watching him all 4 years at Callaway, I can assure you he gonna come out hot within the conference slate. And I'm glad it's done because we need that. Jackson State needs to go on a run the SWAC tournament. The men's side, which I'm gonna go ahead and pull the bracket up for you guys right now. The men's side, let me say this, man. This is going to be an unpredictable SWAC tournament. I can't stress that enough. I really, 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 really can't. Right. So again, we got Grambling winning today against Alabama A&M, and then we got FAMU beating Prairie View. Right. So those are your first round games. So we go to the quarterfinals tomorrow, which you guys can see. So now you got a rivalry game in the quarterfinals. You got Southern versus Grambling. Great matchup. You got Texas Southern versus Alabama State. You got Jackson State versus FAMU, which Jackson State has beat FAMU all year. And that's going to be a tough game. And to the point that I just made about Deshaun Ruffin. Deshaun Ruffin hadn't had any good games against FAMU this season. He's due for one now. And then lastly, you got Bethune-Cookman and Alcorn coming up, finishing up at the bottom. I actually think I got Alcorn against Bethune-Cookman. I think Bussy is formidable. I know in the past 2 years he hadn't done well in the tournament. I think they're due for a win now. I'm gonna roll with Jack State tomorrow, but I'm only gonna roll with Jack State tomorrow. I'm only saying that because I think if Deshaun Ruffin has a Deshaun Ruffin game, then Jack State wins that game. I need to see more out of Shannon Grant as well. But if Deshaun Ruffin doesn't have a good game, Jack State won't win tomorrow. It's going to take Manziel and Ruffin to really get going. Unless we get some other guys to knock down some shots, like McMillan get hot from three, or Jamie Mitchell get hot from three. But if Ruffin does not have a good game, Jackson State will not win. And I think if they do win and beat FAMU, it's a sign of things to come because, again, FAMU swept Jackson State during the regular season. Texas Southern and Alabama State, I got Texas Southern in that game. And Southern against Grambling, I'm going to roll with Southern. Southern is one of the deeper teams in the conference. Now you get to the semifinals, you're talking about Southern and Texas Southern. It's gonna be a damn good matchup. Now this is where it gets interesting. If I got Jackson State and Alcorn, I got Jackson State beating Alcorn, right? But I'm gonna tell you something. I wouldn't be shocked if Alcorn would have pulled the upset. Because I'm telling you guys, this thing is topsy-turvy. Bethune-Cookman, probably can and just as may beat Alcorn. But I'm telling you, that's where it's going to get real interesting. Because just as good as I'm saying that, Grambling can beat Southern. Alabama State can beat Texas Southern. We know FAMU can beat Jack State because, hell, they've done it twice in the regular season. And, again, I picked Alcorn to beat Bethune-Cookman, but that can happen. That's the beautiful thing about this tournament. There is no chalk in this tournament. It just doesn't happen. So that's the beautiful thing about it. Looking forward to watching the games tomorrow, getting a feel for it. It's going to be a beautiful thing to see. And I should actually put the scores up first for you guys. Let me minimize this, and I'll bring this up. And there you go, man. We got like I told you guys, Grambling up pretty big on Alabama A&M. And look, I'm gonna bring this up too. Let me go some of these things in the chat right quick, man. And I'm not gonna hold you guys too much longer. Let's see what we got here. We got what up, Derek Cubic? What's up, bro? Thanks for tuning in, man. Mika. Hey, Christopher Dukes. Nobody got it better than JSU. Yeah, you know. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, EA, Fred McNair. Fred McNair showed interest at the Tennessee State job. That'd be the smartest move to make for my money. Let's see what we got here. Thrill say he think McNair makes some noise at TSU. We'll see. I ain't gonna say all that. Fred McNair will take that job for a bologna sandwich. I mean, he would. Not just for that though. I mean, shoot, you could be a head coach again. It's gonna be more money he was making at Alcorn. You living in Nashville. I mean, he's a tight end coach at Southern right now. I mean, I think it's a good look for him, honestly. I mean, for any reason, I'm just saying that first year is just too much uncertainty, right? But if for any reason, a year or two, and they actually get that thing, under control, I mean, Tennessee State is still Tennessee State. It's a blue blood program. I mean, the most draft picks of any HBCU, most first round draft picks, number one pick in the draft. I mean, they got, you know what I'm saying, they got the indoor practice facility. I'm unfamiliar with what their weight room and everything look like, but it's still Tennessee State and it's still in Nashville. So, I mean, I'll take Nashville over Lorman any day. You know what I'm saying? And there's no shade on Lorman. Just saying. Nashville is a nice town. But Tennessee State got to do better, man. Their fans got to do better. Need more of an investment from their fan base into that program. But outside of that, it's still Tennessee State. So if they get all this stuff under control, it's a damn good job to have. And I think Fred McNair be a damn good man for the job. Russell Hayes, what's up, man? Appreciate you for turning in. CJ, excuse me, what's going on, Pippin? Yeah, man, Norfolk is tough. They are. As I wanted Prairie View to win, so they're bad tonight. Ooh, don't say Prairie View. Prairie View. Yeah. Oh, Valley winning upset. Shh. I don't know, bro. CJ, you see, got Gremlin Girl beat Jack State. Yeah, that loss to Valley hurt, but hey, they got to come in. It's win or go home now, so they got to come on with it. Yeah, 3 or 2 real. Southern tough, man, men and women. Southern men, they deep on both sides of the ball. CJ, you hold on. CJ, let me add this right here. CJ, listen, I'm telling you, if y'all ain't seen, I can't think of the kid last name, but man, Doc something at UAPB, man, that kid is nice. I forgot where he transferred in. The only reason why he don't get newcomer of the year, number one, is their record, right? And then, he kind of tailed off from what he was doing in the non-conference slate, man. But that kid could ball. That non-conference slate, man, he was going crazy. He had a couple 30-point games. He nice. He nice. So we got here. Jackson will be FAMU bad if FAMU started on play. Man, we gonna see. But we gonna see. HBS Hell Wildcats, man. Look, they got a tough one against Alcorn tomorrow. Oh, they did? Wish I had seen it. Oh, yeah. If it's in Atlanta, oh, yeah. FAMU gonna have a crowd in Atlanta. They gonna do that. They gonna do that. Look, let me go ahead and move off this thing right here, man. Look, I don't know if y'all caught it, man, but Howard, man, they actually came out their schedule today. Uh Kind of late, you know what I'm saying, in comparison to everybody else. But man, look at this, man. They pulled that thing out, man. You guys can see it's a pretty good slate, man. I like the schedule. I really like the schedule. Sans one game. I'll actually get into that. Man, look, they open up their season against FAMU, as you guys know. Excuse me, in the in the oh yeah, on August 30th. And then my God, let me pull this thing up. Hold on, let me see. All right, there you go. My bad. Sorry about you guys. So yeah, as you guys can see, man, how open the season August 30th against FAMU in the Orange Blossom Classic. Then they go back on the road and they play Temple, which is I think it's a good scheduled game. If Howard has some pieces, I'm gonna do some more research on them and all the schools in the MEAC. Over the course of the spring, kind of doesn't make any sense to really dive deep into all the programs and what they got and what they don't have because we're all going to have an exodus of players after the spring season, after spring ball. So once once I'll say the end of April gets here, I'll really lock down and get into everybody's program and really, really do a thorough breakdown of every school that we got in the SWAC and the MEAC. before we kick off for media days. I'm really gonna get into that then. But I like this game against Temple. You know, FBS opponent. They're up there in Philadelphia, not far from DC. Um, and if Howard has a good team, I think they can have a good showing in this game. Obviously, I'll predict that Temple will win, but I like that. I like the schedule of that game. Then you know they got Morehouse, September 13th. Follow that up with Hampton, the battle of the real HU. Then they have a game against Richmond. I like this game. Tough FCS opponent. Uh, excuse me. And then you know you got Sacred Heart. That's the only game that I kind of question them scheduling. To be honest with you, with the way their schedule is set up, I wouldn't have actually mind them playing like Tuskegee or uh, you know, well, dang, never mind. They already got Morehouse, so 86 that. I think they probably should end up playing another SWAC school or another FCS opponent outside of Sacred Heart. But then, like I said, after that, they got Tennessee State. Uh, I believe Tennessee State got them scheduled for homecoming, if I'm not mistaken. And then they get into the conference slate. You know, you got Morgan State, North Carolina Central, South Carolina State, Delaware State, and then they finish the season up against Michael Vick and Norfolk State. I got to tell you, on the conference slate, you know, Morgan State is tough defensively. We don't know what they're gonna have on offense, but man, South Carolina State, North Carolina Central back to back, those are gonna be tough. Those are gonna be really two tough games. So then ended up at Norfolk State. I think that works in their favor. I don't really see Michael Vick them being really a thorn in anybody's side in year one. I think they'll be competitive, but you know, they got a tougher schedule than what Howard has. So nonetheless, man, that's Howard's schedule that came out today. Just wanted to pull it out, man, for you guys. And let me move over here to the next thing, man. Look, Celebration Bowl actually came out with some info today, and the schedule is set, man. Celebration Bowl release came out today and made the announcement that the Celebration Bowl will be scheduled on Saturday, December 13th at noon, again on ABC. So you guys, which I know just like last year, I think tickets actually went on sale. I want to say in the first week in October, if I'm not mistaken. So, you guys, before all these other ticket sites, man, get the going crazy on the price of these tickets. You better jump on them tickets, man, and go ahead. And if you haven't gone to Celebration Bowl, man, I urge you to go. I call it HBCU Super Bowl weekend. It's really dope, man. The love and the energy in the place is palpable. It's a damn good event to go to if you guys can actually get to it, right? And then lastly, we're gonna go here. This is something I want to get into. Um, Opt-in news, man. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but we gotta talk about this. Cause I saw this today right here. This right here is pretty big. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me pull this up pretty big, man. Uh, and I'm not sure if you guys know of what the opt-in means. So, on the FCS level, well, on the FBS level, you know that every school has 85 scholarships. Then you have walk-ons. On the FCS level, we have 63 scholarships, right? A full allotment of 63 scholarships that we could spread out over the 85. Well, as you guys know, the NCAA changed last season to where all the FBS schools or Division One will actually go to 105 scholarship roster limits, and so that's one for one, just like the regular 85 scholarships. So all the other D1 programs, i.e., FCS, have the option to either opt in, even with the revenue sharing, with scholarship limits, whether they want to opt in to go to 105 roster spots, but also opt into the revenue sharing. Now, the scary thing about that is you got to fund 105 scholarships. Not every HBCU can do that. Got information pretty much where the SWAC will be doing that as a conference whole, from what I was told. And it's going to be pretty interesting to see the ramifications of this happening. Now, also, in this quote here, got it from Matt Brown, covers the FCS. He stated, look, he's hearing from multiple industry people that he trusts that several D1 schools are having serious internal talks about reclassifying out of D1 before July in the House. I'd be a little surprised if nobody ends up doing it this year. Budget cuts may force some hands. Again, we know who's in office. We understand things that he's actually doing from a federal standpoint, and it's going to mess with people's bottom line. And so, again, you know, we're going to have some of our institutions who, if they're even considering talking about funding 105 scholarships, and you got all these cuts going on, what exactly is that going to look like? Because I'm telling you, it is going to affect some of our institutions. Make no mistake about it. Now, you see here, not sure what schools end up going through with it or not. Nobody wants to be first. And to be fair, some of these situations are more about the school being in very rough shape than just house rev share athletic expenses. Not much you can do in an enrollment revenue crisis. And that's what we're all in. So even when I mentioned to the point to you earlier about Tennessee State, this comes to mind. And you're already talking about rev share and all these types of things. So on one end, you talk about, hey, we may have to drop down to D2, but then now you're talking about a coach looking at, hey, do I want to jump over here? Because what happens if they decide to fold? Because contrary, they could tell you one thing and then, hey, their hands are forced, their hands are tied. And quite a few of our programs will be the same too. I would even venture. I'm not going to say school's name, but I'm going to ask the question, right? Because again, I don't know. I have my own assumptions, and look, we're not going to sugarcoat it. I think we all do, right? But I'm going to ask about a UAPB. I'll ask about a Valley. I'm not saying that this is going to happen to those schools in particular, but I ask, you know, and I'm just going to use the example. What if, right? Because you look at, for an example, like Valley's budget, who's just a shade over 2 million for the athletic budget, right? If they take some cuts, said that will affect their budget, then what? What does that look like? Right? What if, they're forced or they agree to do the 105 roster limit? They're gonna have to come up with money to actually pay for those. And if they do, what happens if they stress themselves in doing that? Because they could do it, right? Let's say they do it, but they stress themselves to do it. Now, if you get cuts, then what? You know what I'm saying? So, that's treading some very, very rough water. Um, I'm really, really curious to see how this is going to affect because even for an example, if I feel that FAMU, let's just say FAMU, Jack State, and Southern are okay with it, and they can just easily do it. I'm still wanting to feel what the ramifications are going to look and feel like, even if they do it, right? Because we know certain schools are going to do it. Southern, Jack State, FAMU, Grambling. The majority of the schools in the SWAC are going to do it, right? I wonder what this is going to look like. Because this for the first time, even for the administrators and even the ADs and everybody else, this is uncharted territory. We're at a brand new place. There is no reference point to what we're doing and where we're headed right now. And that's why we always talk about, this ever changing landscape of college sports. And it's going to be really, really curious because I'm telling you, some things are going to happen. And I'm just wondering what this is going to look like. And let's just throw an example out there, right? Let's just say, for an example, let's say that Valley and Pine Bluff decide to go down to, and even let's say Bethune Cookman. Let's say, hey, they're forced, right? They go down to D2. So what does that do to the SWAC? And then let's say the MEAC, hey, they're down to 6 schools in football, but 8 schools total. What happens if Maryland Eastern Shore, Coppin State, and let's just say, um, South Carolina State. Let's say they're forced to go D2. What does it do to that conference? Because now they're down to 5 schools. And under a landscape now where you got these cuts and people are making moves, you can't sit there and say, "Oh, we can just get somebody like a Morehouse or somebody to move up," because it won't be any moving up in this climate. What does that look like? You know, I tell you what I think. I think those schools who can actually handle the 105 roster limit and can weather the storm of actually being in Division One athletics, I think you take every HBCU that can do it and create a HBCU super conference. I think you take whatever you can from the MEAC and whatever you can from the SWAC and you do it. That's gonna be your only recourse, and then everybody else who can't, they'll just have to be in D2. And I actually spoke to this a few months ago when I was saying, this new college football landscape is unstable and we don't know what's going to happen. So we can't make decisions like it's another run of the mill season because we're going into new territory, uncharted waters that we've never been. And being that everything is so unstable, how can we sit here and just go status quo with our decision making and everything else that's going on in this new landscape? And that's why I would say you would have to have some type of radical thinking to where you can find something to sustain yourself because this right here, I'm telling you, is scary if you were to think about it because now it's like your hands are going to be your hands are forced and your hands are tied and you're going to be forced to have to make a move. And out of the watch, you're absolutely right. The MEAC can't afford to lose any schools. That's why I gave that example. They have 8 members right now. If they happen to lose 3, even though Maryland Eastern Shore and Coppin State don't play football, they field everything else. But if they can't do everything else and they're forced to go D2, now you only have 5 members in total, period. And what happens? I'm telling you, at that point, your hand is forced. You're going to have to say, we got to merge together. The ones who can actually do it, and everybody else is going to have to go down to D2. That's what's going to happen. And I really feel like this is just something added on to make it even easier for the Power Four. They're basically just forcing your hand to where you're going to have the Power Four than everybody else. And I mentioned this earlier, and I was stating that, hey, you just don't know what's going to happen. This is why you have to have a contingency plan in place. You can't just say, oh, we're a super conference as the SWAC as is, and we're just roll with that in mind. I'm like, now your hands are forced. Whatever you was planning on working, it ain't gonna even work now. Because what happens if you have multiple schools that's forced to actually drop down to D2? Now what? Now what? Now, can the SWAC, if you have 8 schools in the SWAC that can handle it, yeah, the SWAC can still be a conference in the FCS space. But then if the MEAC loses 3 schools, well, guess what? There's no more Celebration Bowl because the MEAC will fold. So now what do you do? Yeah, I tell you what, if you got 8 schools in the SWAC that can do it, you take those 3 schools out the MEAC, or possibly, I'm sorry, those 5 schools out the MEAC, or possibly 4, have a 12-team conference, and there you go. Well, Hayes, you said the MEAC not going nowhere. If they lose 3 schools, they won't be anywhere. So, I mean, that's the game changing thing. Yeah, I know. So far, only Morgan has. But here's the thing, too. If Morgan opt in and nobody else does, uh, if Morgan can handle it and afford it, it's going to create an advantage for Morgan State. It's going to create a recruiting advantage for them because they'll have literally 25 extra players that they can actually get. So, like I said, it's crazy, and we'll see when we actually get to it. So, I just wanted to bring that up, man, for a great discussion, man, because that's going to be a major thing. I'm telling you, over the spring and summer months, and I'm really interested to see because again, this will come to a head by July. So, you guys may want to keep your ears open, keep your antennas up, because this right here is just a start, and it's going to run roughshod throughout the FCS. I can assure you that. I look, got 2 more points of emphasis for you guys that I want to bring up for you guys, man. Huge news I wanted to bring up to you. And main thing, let me get this up out of here. I'm sorry. Main thing was right here, man. Look, what y'all think? Norfolk State, Michael Vick, man, on the possibility of playing Colorado. Michael Vick stated, man, that he was actually in talks, had communication with Deion Sanders about playing Colorado in Boulder. Now, only thing that I find funny about this is, look, Jack State guy, elephant in the room. Deion Sanders at Jack State did not want to play an FBS opponent. Literally said, "I'm not playing the money game because you're prostituting your players out for a check." So it's amazing that at Jackson State, he doesn't want to prostitute his players for a check. But now, if I'm in Colorado, you could prostitute yourself for a check for me. That's crazy. That's crazy. But I like it. I like it. I think by scheduling that game, it's gonna draw media. I mean, you got two lightning rods, well, one big lightning rod, and you have the name within Michael Vick. But man, Prime versus Vick, in Boulder, man, that's intriguing. So I think it's dope that they're actually having the conversation. I like it. Um, that's what's up. And lastly, man, before we get up out of here, I wanted to bring this up. I didn't know if you guys knew the news. Look, man, got Morgan State against Miles College, 2025 Circle City Classic in Indianapolis this year. I actually like the matchup. Um, I just wish the Indianapolis, I'm sorry, I wish the Circle City Classic could get back to what it was, man, when they first started, man. They used to have some damn good matchups um, when they were actually having that, man. And but again, lately since they've revived it, it's been a MEAC or a SWAC team against a SIAC team pretty much every year. So I like the matchup here, though. It's intriguing. I wonder if these two have actually ever even played before. But I like it. I like it. I think it's dope. I really, really do. CJ said, "Why not invite TC?" Man, that would be crazy if Jack State played Colorado in Boulder. Now that right there would drop some headlines. That would be hot. That would be hot. I like to see that. I'd be there too, all up in Boulder. So, but look, man, that's it for you guys, man. Look, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Zone Coverage Podcast with your boy. And look, man, y'all keep your ears tied down to it. We'll be back on Thursday with some more content. Give you guys we should be at the semifinal stage at that point with the results for tomorrow's games and on Thursday's games. And look, any news that happened here between here and then within the MEAC, the SWAC, CIAA, and the SIC, man, y'all come to your boy. We'll break everything down. Look, we about to get up out of here. All love, man. Y'all take it easy. Later.